I'm Owen Klein, and this is College Focus, coming to you from St. Clair College. Studios at the South Campus, produced by the students and staff of the college. Our purpose is to tell you a little bit about the college, its people, its programs, some of the more interesting things that are happening here. Tonight we're featuring the Thames Campus in Chatham, and with us, a professor in biology, a writer, science writer, broadcaster. Brian, the things go on innumerably here. Brian Case. Welcome to the show, Brian.
Thank you very much.
The first thing I have to comment on, if you could pull that down a little bit so we could see the whole thing, is that sweatshirt. That is exciting. What is that about?
Well, I got this from something called the Canada-China Dinosaur Project, which is something that a lot of people don't know too much about, and it's an indication of Canada's involvement in science. It's a joint Canadian-China project to basically hunt dinosaurs. It's one of the biggest dinosaur hunts in history, and they've been very successful.
Oh yeah, sure they have, Yeah, we're hunting dinosaurs, Brian. One in my backyard last night. Now, seriously, what are you doing?
Well, actually, they have looked for and found some pretty exciting fossil finds in dinosaurs.
Okay.
And just over the last few years, they've found both the very smallest and the very largest dinosaurs ever found.
Now, we're going to get right into it. You've brought a few pieces of bone here. Do you want to tell me what this is all about? I didn't ask you before the show. I thought maybe they were jujus or something that you had to, for good luck, but...
Well, these are actually human bones rather than dinosaur bones.
Oh.
And this is the very first of our backbones, right at the base of the skull, one of our very first neck vertebra.
Oh, well, we're going to get into that later then,
right.
All right? Well, let's get back to the dinosaurs. Now, China and Canada are together on a dinosaur hunt.
That's right.
I have to keep smiling at that one now, Brian. They're together on a dinosaur hunt, and are you involved with this at all?
No, I'm not, but I've been following it pretty carefully as a science writer. It's one of the exciting things that's been happening in science.
Weren't there discoveries in Essex, Kent County? Some farmers discovered some mastodon bones, or am I dreaming this? Wasn't there some?
I'm not sure if they've been discovered just in this area, but there's certainly been a lot of mastodon bones found. As a matter of fact, some whole mastodons frozen in the north of Canada. But these bones that are the fossil finds of dinosaurs go much beyond that. 65 million years old they are, and they've been lying buried.
Where in Canada are the major finds?
In Canada, in the Arctic. There's been finds right through the eastern Arctic in Alberta, and the most recent, the most exciting finds have been by Canadian and Chinese scientists in China, in the Gobi Desert and in Mongolia.
Now, how do your students react to this? I take it that you probably use this in your classes to stimulate interest in science in general?
Well, I don't get to talk about dinosaurs too much in class because I teach human biology.
Well, there you go. So you bring it in, though, as a little interest factor, I'm sure.
Well, we certainly talk about the human bones, and I try and spark a little interest by wearing my dinosaur sweatshirt at times.
With the dinosaur bones on it. Okay, now here we are, human bones. We're back to our human bones. You brought a couple with us. Give us a little demonstration, or want to talk about those at all? Or?
Well, I just want to use those for comparison, Owen.
Okay.
Over the last couple of years, there's been both a very small and a very large dinosaur find. And the very small was a cluster of 5 baby dinosaurs discovered in the Gobi Desert. They're a very rare armored dinosaur, and this was the first time it was realized that eggs were laid and they were hatched together, so it shows that there was a family orientation in dinosaurs. But the very large was found in Mongolia a couple of years ago again, but it's taken 2 years just to dynamite and tunnel around to expose some of the bones. Now, I brought this just as an illustration. This is a human neck vertebra, and it's a typical size of the first neck vertebra that our skull perches on. The neck vertebra of this huge dinosaur that was found, by the way, the dinosaur is as long as a jumbo jet. And if this was a neck vertebra from the dinosaur, it would be simply too large to fit on this table right here. It would probably collapse the table. It took 2 years just to expose a few of the neck vertebra and the ribs. And just to give you an idea again of the size of the bones, this is a human rib. The size of the dinosaur fossil rib that was found was about twice as tall as an average human. In other words, it would pretty close to go up to the ceiling in the studio here. It wouldn't quite reach the roof, but it would go well up in the studio.
Well, how much would that dinosaur have weighed?
The estimate was that it would weigh the equivalent of a herd of elephants, one dinosaur.
One dinosaur, herd of elephants. And did it have a name?
It does, but it escapes me at the moment. It's got a very long name.
To go with its size.
That's right.
It's, for short, we'd call it the big dinosaur.
Yeah, it's as big as the other largest, which is the...
Is this a recent discovery? Did we
Yes,
not,
it is.
We didn't know that they were that large before this?
There's been one other that was very close to this size that was discovered several years ago, but this is the largest find of the most recent hunt for dinosaurs.
This is very interesting. You realize we've got to get this conversation back around to Thames Campus.
That's
and
right.
The program's up there, but this is great. Are there any local, just one last question, any local scientists that you know of who are working, anyone from the university or anyone that's working with the Chinese on this? Or?
Not directly. Most of the scientists are from the University of Alberta, which is, of course, where a lot of the dinosaur fossils have been found in Canada. And it's a joint Alberta government and federal funded and Chinese project.
So you are a professor, you are a writer. You've just said that your science writing is, gears around such things as this.
That's right.
And you do some broadcasting, science show?
Yeah, I have a daily science show on the Chatham FM station, CKSY FM, comes on 3 times a day on weekdays. And I talk about such things as the latest dinosaur finds. I've been doing this for 3 years now, as in addition to my teaching at Thames
How is
Campus.
the response?
Response has been very favorable. As a matter of fact, I've been very pleased when I've been out at functions and people know that I'm broadcasting the show. I've had several very positive comments about that people enjoy the show and listen to it quite regularly.
What's the name of the show?
Science Beat.
Science Beat, and it's 15 minutes, half hour?
No, it's just a 2.5-minute program.
2.5 minutes
Yeah,
spot.
so it's just a science bite, a daily science bite in very digestible form.
Everyone should have their daily science bite.
That's
yes.
right.
Okay. And at the college now, you teach at the college biology.
Biology.
To the what program?
Mainly in the nursing program. Also teach it in other programs that take some biology courses, but primarily to nursing students.
And where'd your interest in science come?
I have done quite a bit of research in marine biology and fisheries biology, but for a long time, and I've been teaching for 18 years, but for a long time it led me to realize that the interest in science should be much beyond the classroom, and yet a lot of people are kind of afraid of science. So what I've attempted to do is produce programs that are easy to understand and that people will listen to, and it will grab their attention.
Did you have someone, as a young man in high school or whatever, someone turn you on to science, or has it always been an interest of yours?
I had a very good biology teacher in high school, and I think that's where an interest in science
Was that in Chatham?
No, that was in Victoria, BC.
Oh,
Yeah.
So you're from BC originally?
Right.
When did you come to beautiful downtown Ontario?
Well, I came here kind of a circuitous route. I did some studies at University of Manitoba and at University of Ottawa, and then came down from Ottawa to Chatham
And so you've been here for how long?
for almost 18 years.
Oh, that's right, you mentioned that, 18 years. Now, what are some of the things in the nursing program, what are some of the challenges you find in bringing biology into the program? I know it's a tough course in that program. It's always one that, I don't know, I don't say students fight it, but it's difficult, the material is difficult. What are some of your techniques for bringing people through that?
I think an enthusiasm, which I have for science, hopefully gets through to the students. I think part of teaching is to show students that there is a rhyme and reason to material. In other words, rather than just memorizing material, you can, even with biology facts, you can reason them through and put them in an order that makes sense. But I think one of the most important things about teaching is having an enthusiasm for the subject that generates an enthusiasm by students.
Have you had any students respond that maybe they would be changing career paths and thinking of science as an option as a result of your enthusiasm, your writing, your show, your teaching?
I can't say as I've had anyone come up and say I've decided definitely to veer into science, but I've had a lot of students indicate that science and biology in particular was a lot more interesting than they realized.
Okay. Would you, I'm going to get back to the dinosaurs. Yeah. We've taken care of Chatham for a minute now. Would you be interested, if you were given the chance to head off to China or to head out west, back out west to do some digs?
Absolutely.
Would you see yourself as getting that opportunity in any way?
I'm not sure. I think perhaps the closest I may come to that is getting up into the Drumheller region of Alberta, where there is a large dinosaur museum. And I would really like to see some of the dinosaur fossils firsthand. And there's a way that I and many other people are going to be able to do this, because the Dinosaur Project a year in the spring is going to be putting a dinosaur show on the road across Canada. That'll be in the spring of '92. And then that's going to be going right around the world. So fortunately, we're all going to get a chance to see some of these great dinosaur finds.
We've all done dinosaur projects in school, and I think they're still doing them, and they're a favorite thing. Why is this? Why are we so fascinated with these dear dead things?
I think one of the reasons is dinosaurs are a bit of a mystery. Some of that mystery, incidentally, is being cleared up by science right now, but the big mystery was what happened to the dinosaurs. They disappeared from the face of the earth 65 million years ago, and up until recently, no one really knew why.
And now we're going to get your theory.
Well, this is a very widely accepted theory now in science. There was, around the world, there's been a layer of rock that's been discovered that must have been formed by very high heat. And wherever it's looked for, in many different places of the world, it's been discovered. And it's a black, very obvious black layer. And it's believed that what caused this was some kind of catastrophic event, and that probably was an asteroid colliding with Earth about 65 million years ago. And that wiped out most, at least 3/4, of life that existed on Earth at that time, and that happened to be the age of the dinosaurs.
Good Lord, that was a large asteroid.
It was not necessarily a large asteroid, certainly a few miles across, but it caused it doesn't take a really large asteroid to create a lot of damage, but it's believed that this one might have been 10 miles across. It's believed that if this indeed was the catastrophe, that asteroid may have been more 10,000 times more powerful than all the atomic bombs that have ever been exploded.
And it just put up a cloud of dust that was all around the Earth and...
Exactly. It probably caused extensive firestorms, which killed a lot of the animal and plant life off, and then set up a dust cloud that then put Earth into a deep winter for a long time, which did a job on a lot of other animals and vegetation.
Well, thank you very much for coming on and sharing dinosaurs with us, sharing biology at Thames, and some of your own experiences as a writer and broadcaster. As the project continues, as I say to people when they have a project such as this, as the project continues, perhaps you can come back on and let us know how large this Chinese dinosaur really is.
Sure, we'll be
happy
happy
to. Get it
to.
all uncovered. So thank you very much for coming on, and we'll be back with another guest in just a moment.
Things just build up. Nobody cares about my problems. I'm always depressed. It's like living in a dark little room. Day by day, it just gets smaller and darker. I told a friend once that I felt like killing myself, and he laughed. He just laughed. I needed help from him, and he laughed. Doesn't anyone understand?
We understand. That's why we're here, to help you. Things won't seem so awful when you talk them out. There is more to life than what you're feeling right now.
Alive Canada provides an atmosphere where you can share your thoughts, feelings, or past hurts. Call 948-5845 for more information. Please.
Well, welcome back. We're over here in Studio B with Mary Granger. Mary is a teacher up at the Thames Campus in Chatham, and she works in the health science area. We'll introduce our little friend here in just a few moments. This dummy seems to be in a little bit of trouble, but you're going to be taking care of that, right, Mary?
I will try.
You will try. First of all, a little bit about you. What are some of the things you do up at Thames?
I teach the CPR courses, the first aid, and sometimes help in any of the other programs where they need pharmacology or the medical secretary's management courses.
Great.
Things like
and
that.
so tonight you have brought down this child dummy here. This child's in trouble, obviously.
Obviously.
And what are we going to do here?
All right.
I say we. That's the royal we. You're going to do it, Mary.
I'm going to do it. I think that it's important to know that the CPR stands for cardiopulmonary resuscitation. And we have many, many different classes of CPR. And tonight I'm going to demonstrate on the infant purely because it's easy to demonstrate on the table. The infant, it's become, the infant CPR program has really, really increased in activity, and I think perhaps it's due to the new child care facilities. So this has been with the Ontario Heart and Stroke for perhaps 3 years, but suddenly it's really coming into its own.
Okay, well, I want all you viewers to pay attention now. Mary, it's up to you. You tell us what the problem is and how you're going to handle it here.
All
okay?
right. The thing with the CPR courses, there's infant child, and this is an infant, and just for a basic guideline, it's 0 to 1 year of age. And we would perhaps teach this to people who are giving infant care. There are also other programs, and it's the adult CPR. And we use that many times in the target group for perhaps the health caregivers, police, fire personnel, and people.
Most of us going into a course with the Red Cross or someone like that would get the adult CPR, is that right?
Correct, that's
yes.
correct. And we work through the Ontario Heart and Stroke program, and each of these modules we are geared differently to meet the needs of the individual. I think perhaps the biggest misunderstanding and the biggest improvement we've had with CPR is that initially people thought it was only used in an adult to save someone who died from a heart attack. And now we're realizing, and we've been saying it all along, I think now people being more interested in healthy lifestyles are becoming interested in what to do for someone who, yes, does stop breathing and their heart does stop.
For any reason at all.
For any reason, so that not always do we find someone unconscious because their heart has stopped. In fact, the adult often is found unconscious truly because his or her heart has stopped. But the infant and child are often found unconscious because they have choked or respiratory distress. So we can use parts of this for many other areas: drowning, suffocation, choking, drug overdose, allergic reactions, all the good stuff.
Yeah,
that's
okay,
correct.
Sure.
So the part of the program is if I had a class, and we limit this to 8 students per instructor, and it's because of all the sequential learning, I would want to teach you the difference on whether that child is found in this position, A, because he has choked, is he there because of crib death, or has his heart possibly stopped? So that we teach you what to do when you find someone unconscious. And this sequence would look something like this. Baby, baby, are you okay? I want to establish whether this baby has decided to sleep or be quiet.
You just woke it up.
I'm
You
trying
hope.
not to. I'm hoping. That's correct.
Okay.
Secondly, are they breathing? And to establish that, you must open an airway. The tongue is the most common cause of airway obstruction in the unconscious. And to do that with an infant, simply just placing their head over your wrist is adequate. Now I'm going to see if perhaps by doing that I have taken the tongue off the back of their throat, and I'm going to look, feel, and listen to see if I can feel for air escaping from either mouth or nose.
Just that lifting gesture will
Just
loosen the tongue.
This is enough to bring the tongue off the back of the throat. Another way, if people feel more comfortable, that we can teach is to open an infant's airway simply by putting them in, it's called a sniffing position. Just absolutely sniff. That's also enough. When I raise the lower jaw, it brings the tongue up off the back of the throat.
Okay.
The reason I sort of lend towards this one, with an infant, if I needed to get to the phone and I was by myself, I certainly could transport the child much easier in this fashion versus just holding on to their head.
Yeah.
Right?
I
So,
can
and
understand
since
that.
I'm trying to revive or rescue this child, I'm going to simply place my ear over mouth and nose, feeling for air escaping from either one, and look towards the chest. After the count of 5, if I don't feel anything escaping and I don't see anything, I'm going to give them 2 slow puffs. And in an infant, we only fill our cheeks. Correct. So, all right. Now, when someone stops breathing, that does not necessarily mean that their heart has stopped. And that's to our advantage, because now I just have someone who is not breathing. Perhaps that was smoke inhalation, but they can still have a pulse. So
Still have a pulse or a heartbeat.
That's correct. When your heart stops, I'm sorry, everything stops. So you'd need the 12-hour CPR course.
The 12-hour course, and we have
I'll
another
plug
5 or
that
6.
in. We've got another
5 or 6
course.
minutes here. So, okay.
Then I would feel for the pulse, and this is the area where an infant's pulse would be found. After assessing for 10 seconds, I don't have a pulse. I'm in big trouble.
Okay.
And this is when, if I was perhaps in a nursery school or maybe in the grocery shop, I would say, you in the green, please call the ambulance, 352-2340. I have an infant with no pulse, and return. Now, to supply just oxygen for an infant is not adequate if I have nothing by which to pump it.
Okay.
So this is where the cardiac compressions come into place. And the reason that you must be taught under an instructor who is recognized by the Ontario Heart and Stroke is simply because you could do a tremendous amount of damage if you didn't know the proper landmarks.
To the young child.
That's right. And if you'd like, I can just show you
Yes, by
a
all
slight
means, carry on.
sequence, please. And in real life, they can make noises like that.
Oh, we're kind of hoping it will make a noise. Waiting for it to kick in here, Mary.
60. I would then reassess to see if I had in fact started a heartbeat, and it is very possible by doing cardiac compressions to start one and reassess.
Now that was a cardiac compression for 60 seconds.
I do 10, all right? I do 50, or
do 50,
10
okay.
sets of 5, and I
Okay.
count to 60.
And what is the rate on those? I noticed a
Right.
very quick rate you were using.
It is. It's approximate. What I'm trying to achieve is at least 100 compressions per minute.
That would take some practice to get the timing on that.
It does. I think, too, when you're dealing with infants and children, the emotional problem far outweighs sometimes working with an adult.
A parent might have a difficult time doing this because of that emotional aspect.
Exactly.
Panic would set into with the adult, etc. What do you recommend there? How does someone get a hold of themselves and get a grip when they confront such a potentially tragic situation?
It's difficult. Sometimes I do suggest strongly for parents taking this course and or babysitters or any caregiver that to please write all the telephone numbers that they require by the telephone. Having them in the telephone book is not as good an idea always as we think it is, because I found mine anyway everywhere from the cutlery drawer to on top of the refrigerator.
Normal household.
Normal household with 3 boys. Anyway, if they would just make the instructions very clear, I tell them the second mistake that often we find is in their moment of panic, they fail to stay on the telephone. until either police, ambulance, fire, whichever agency they've had to call.
How much time do we have in a situation like this? Now, we don't know how long this child has been in distress, but what kind of time do we have here?
All right, that's an excellent question. 0 to 4 minutes. Without oxygen, the brain does not have brain damage. 4 to 6 more likely, and 6 to 10 probably. And after that, you are looking at perhaps brain damage. So time is just essential. If you recognize you have a problem, you must establish what is wrong.
So on the outside 10 minutes, but if you can get
That's
it
correct.
inside of 4 or 5 minutes, why, you're better off.
That's right.
Okay. And how, all right, are there any liabilities for a person who would be in a situation where they would see a child or even an adult in distress, know that they had the skills to apply CPR, but were a little bit afraid that, oh gee, someone is going to sue them later on or something? There's always that in our litigious society.
That's right. And a question that many, most often in a class
Is
is
asked.
brought forward. That's correct. In Ontario, we do not have a Good Samaritan Act. We have an amendment to the Good Samaritan Act. Therefore, we don't have any true guidelines, like if we missed point B and went straight to C, they can't say you missed it. You must, not to be liable, have been trained under a recognized CPR instructor. So by simply seeing it and watching it on TV or on video is not enough.
You got that, viewers? Now, this is not enough, okay.
This is not enough. It's good, but it's not enough.
Right.
So please, the other thing is that every year we go down and have seminars about the legalities of this, and the gentlemen, the lawyers and the judges are saying, if you have taken 12 hours or 6 hours to learn this course, you obviously are not out there to do damage.
To do damage, and if you save a life, you're probably going to get a thank you.
That's correct, and I think sometimes I stress to them, tell the parent or the grieving person or the loved one that you're there to help. Sometimes people just jump in, and there maybe they do get into a bit of a problem.
Mary, thank you very much. Very interesting. I appreciate your coming on.
Thank
and well, we're breathing normally now. Things
I
are moving
hope
right
so.
along. Okay.
Thank you.
And thank you very much for watching. Remember what you've learned, but also remember that if you want to take advantage of this, you'll have to get the full course. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.